and welcome once again to the Endzone. Brought to you by Gym Bag Entertainment, and I'm here this week, and I have a great episode for you guys, or at least I think I do. I have worked on this all day the other day, and this is my bold predictions round 1 2024 draft. Now, let's be clear when I say this. This is not what I expect to happen, but this was just a fun little idea I came up with to kind of shake up the draft a little bit, do some unexpected things, but some things that make a whole lot of sense, at least in my eyes. So, with that being said, let's jump right into it. So, at 1, we have the Chicago Bears with the number 1 overall pick, and all day, every day, people are saying Caleb Williams at number 1 is set in stone to the Chicago Bears. You know, put it down in the history books. It's done and over with. But it makes sense, but it doesn't make sense. Caleb Williams comes with a lot of baggage, a lot of drama, and the Bears have been putting in a lot of work to make this team a well-oiled machine, plug and play, ready to go, trying to win the division, trying to win playoff games, trying to get to that ship. And the problem with Caleb Williams is he's Hollywood. You know what I'm saying? He's big, he's bright, but will that talent from college transfer over into the NFL? Of that, we cannot be sure. So, what I would like to see happen here is to bulk up and make some moves that nobody sees coming. And with that being said, I have the Chicago Bears trading the number 1 overall pick to the Las Vegas Raiders for their first. Obviously, it's going to be next year's first and probably some other stuff. I don't know what it would be, but I think the Raiders would find it to be worth it, whatever that price tag may be, and it just makes sense. The Las Vegas Raiders, they're all about the show. They're all about that prime time, big, bright lights, fancy talking and all that. Caleb Williams will fit in perfect. They already got the weapons in place. Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, Michael Mayer. They got the running back Zamir White, who's kind of a volume guy. You know, you're gonna get that volume. You could dump it off, and they'll probably draft running back in the third round, someone who can catch passes out of the backfield. They've got some weapons in place. So I think this is a team that's ready for a guy like Caleb Williams. I believe that the coaching staff is a coaching staff that can handle a guy like Caleb Williams. This all makes sense to me. Trade up and go get this kid, right? Then, with that number 2 pick, Washington will draft Jaden Daniels because that just seems what the wave is going, and I wasn't going to go too far off that wave. So then you go to New England. I told you, if New England doesn't get Jaden Daniels, Drake May is not going to be ready to go, right? He's not going to be ready to go. And we don't have the weapons to surround him to help him be ready to go. So if you ain't got the weapons, if not everything is in place, it doesn't make sense to go ahead and draft a young kid to set him up to fail. So let's go ahead and grab Marvin Harrison Jr. Get ourselves that number 1 wide receiver, the kid we can build around. I got other options coming up later on that I think will help make this all come together nice and clean. I also think that you draft Marvin Harrison Jr. and then you make a trade offer to Cincinnati, to Miami, and I had another team in mind, but I'm drawing a blank on who it was. Offer a pick for either T. Higgins or Jalen Waddle. I think these 2 guys are coming up on contract years. I don't see teams ready and willing to re-sign, bring him in as that number 2, a guy who can come in and give Marvin Harrison his time to develop and to get into this system and do big things. I love either one of those guys coming on over, and then let Miami and Cincinnati address those empty spots in the draft. Then we have Arizona at number 4, and boom, here comes again another little twist. Minnesota trading the 11th and the 23rd pick to Arizona to jump up to the number 4 and draft a quarterback they actually want in Drake May. Now, this is a situation that makes perfect sense for Drake May. He could come in, start day one, and make this work. He'll have better weapons than he's ever had. He'll have a relatively good O-line and everything else. They got the run game. Unfortunately, he'll miss out on T.J. Hawkinson for half the season, but I'm pretty sure that they can, maybe grab someone in the second round or the third round who can not necessarily comp for T.J. Hawkinson, but give him a tight end that will work out for the first half of the season. But, I mean, if you have Justin Jefferson on one side and you have Jordan Addison on the other and you can't make that work, I mean, that sounds like a you problem, So I think Drake May to Minnesota makes the most sense. Arizona, yeah, they really wanted to go ahead and get Marvin Harrison Jr., but you can't get him. All right, maybe you go Malik Neighbors, but you could trade down. You have some weapons on offense already. Trade down and get more first-round draft picks in order to get more depth and more necessary pieces in this year's draft. All right. Then you have the LA Chargers at 5. Now, some people thought, Malik Neighbors, blase blah. But no. I'm going back to a well from my first episode. And I believe that the Chargers should trade Justin Herbert away. You got rid of all your receivers. You've got nothing going on. So clearly, you're not about passing the ball. You need a game manager. You need someone who will do exactly what you need them to do. In comes J.J. McCarthy at the number 5 pick. And I said this before, I'll say it again. Harbaugh thinks that J.J. McCarthy is the best quarterback in this draft. Put your money where your mouth is. Use that number 5 pick. Draft J.J. McCarthy. Trade Justin Herbert away to the Chicago Bears for that number 9 pick. And now you have the 5 and the 9. It all comes together, and it's all going to work. It's all going to play out to perfection. And I think this move is a game changer. Jim Harbaugh is building for the future. He's not building for this year. He's building for the years to come. And J.J. McCarthy on a 5-year deal, rookie deal, leaves all the room in the world to be able to sign talent, draft talent, build a roster around him. And, man, it spells trouble. So we'll see how that plays out. But I love that move so much. J.J. McCarthy at number 5 to the Chargers. Tennessee, I ain't changing. They're going Joe Alt, the best offensive tackle in the draft. They need the offensive line help. It doesn't make sense to draft a receiver. It doesn't make sense to draft anything else but Joe Alt right here. Then we move on to Atlanta. Some people think Atlanta will draft a receiver. To me, that makes absolutely no sense. You have a squad you put together. You got Drake London and Kyle Pitts. You added Darnell Mooney. You traded for Rondell Moore. You don't need any more weapons. Yeah, would it be nice to grab Malik Neighbors? Of course. But it's unnecessary. And actually, I messed up. I skipped number 6. Number 6, Malik Neighbors to the Giants. And I hate that for fantasy. I'm a fantasy guy. I hate the Giants getting Malik Neighbors, but I can't imagine the Giants getting that number 6 pick, seeing Malik Neighbors there, and hitting the skip button. It just doesn't make sense. I personally, like I've said this before, I think the Giants should trade away that 6th pick. I would love for the Patriots to trade up and grab Malik Neighbors right here so you can have Marvin Harrison, have Malik Neighbors. You got 2 of the best wide receivers, the 2 best wide receivers in this draft class. And then all you need to do is get yourself any quarterback. To be honest with you, Jacoby Brissett would work in this situation, but that's not what we want to happen. But if the Giants will trade that number 6 pick, whoever can get it to get Malik Neighbors would make a lot of sense. But Malik Neighbors to the Giants, that's an easy move right there. Joe Alt to Tennessee. Atlanta, yeah, maybe you want a Dunze, but I think the most sense is to grab Dallas Turner, the edge rusher, and just shore up that defense so you can get pressure on the quarterback, get them 3 and outs so you can give Kirk Cousins and that offense more opportunities to score touchdowns. Then we have the Chicago at 9, who traded their number 9 pick to the Chargers for Justin Herbert. Now, obviously, it's more than a 9. It's probably the first this year and a first next year. That's irrelevant. Chicago is trading that 9 and whatever else to get Justin Herbert to the LA Chargers. Right? From the LA Chargers, excuse me. But I'm not done there. The Chargers said, you know what? We don't need a doomsday. We don't need much going on right here. Let's trade this pick away. Cincinnati's on the phone, and they're trading for the number 9 overall pick. They're giving up their 18. They're going to give up a second or a third, whatever the case may be, to trade up to that number 9. I'm going to say it's probably going to be the 18 plus a third or a fourth round pick. They're only moving up 9 slots. I got the Chargers trading it to Cincinnati, and Cincinnati will draft Rome Odunze because you already have one of the best wide receivers. Why don't you add one of the top 3, trade T. Higgins away? He don't want to be there. You don't want to pay him. You grab Odunze, you're going to get him at a dime. You're going to get him on that rookie deal. Yeah, it's a first-round rookie deal, but it's still a rookie deal. You have him for 4 years with the 5th-year option. This makes all the sense in the world. Jamar Chase is young. Bring in another young wide receiver in Odunze, and it's magic for Joe Burrow. He is going to be cooking with fire. I'm saying I love it, and I think that this makes so much sense for Cincinnati, and it will make them a powerhouse team. They'll be able to compete with the best, and I love this move. If Odunze can stay healthy and Jamar Chase can stay healthy, this is an offense that will terrify everybody in the NFL. So then we move on to the Jets. I got the Jets grabbing Fashanu. They need offensive line help. Yeah, I understand that they grabbed Troy Smith, whatever. They need more. They need more help. That Smith is not going to be healthy all year. Tyson Smith. I said Troy. Tyson Smith. I understand that, but he's not going to be healthy all year. Go ahead and grab Fashanu and shore up that offensive line. Aaron Rodgers needs to stay on his feet. If we want the Garrett Wilsons and the Mike Williams of the world and the Breece Halls of the world to be successful, shore up the O-line. A lot of people want him to go Brock Bowers, but forget all that. Brock Bowers, yeah, he's a great weapon, but they need offensive line help more than anything. Then Minnesota's number 11 pick traded to Arizona. Arizona's going to shore up that line and grab Fuaga. Then we got Denver. Now, this isn't sexy, but I think Denver is going to draft Bo Nix. I think it makes a lot of sense because they only have Jarrett Stidham. The only other quarterback even available is Ryan Tannehill. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Does it make sense to you? You want Ryan Tannehill to be your starting quarterback? I don't think you do. Do you want Bo Nix? I don't know. But I think it's better to give Bo Nix a chance than to play games with Ryan Tannehill. Are you going to trade for Zach Wilson, get a 6.5 pick for him? It doesn't make any sense. Let's go with a young kid with an arm, get him some weapons, and go from there. I think this pick makes sense. I don't love it. It's not sexy, but it makes sense. Bo Nix to Denver at 12. Las Vegas trades the 13 to Chicago as part of the package to get that number 1 overall pick. And Chicago, they've got all the weapons they need, right? So let's get some defensive help. The defense is already top of the pack, but if you add Jarrett Verse to that defense, they're going to crack skulls and give Justin Herbert more opportunities to get the ball back in his hands. And Justin Herbert in Chicago reunited with the likes of Keenan Allen and Gerald Everett. Now you're also giving him DJ Moore. You got DeAndre Swift in the backfield. Man, this offense smells like success to me. Better O-line than they had over there on the Chargers. a new home for Justin Herbert to reset. I love it, and it's going to work out. Next on the list, we have New Orleans. I'm giving them Terrion Arnold. They need that defensive help. Give them the best cornerback in the league. And then Indianapolis. This is where I got Brock Bowers going. They got Michael Pittman. They shored him up. They gave him that big contract. Josh Downs in the slot. If he can remain healthy, dangerous. They got Alec Pierce, deep threat. Now we need that tight end, that explosive tight end that can make plays happen all day. Bring in Brock Bowers, best tight end since George Kittle, and I think this offense will be dominant. It will be a battle between Houston and Indy for a few years to come, and I'm excited for it. Seattle, let's go ahead, bring in Chop Robinson. They need help on defense. They need help on the O-line as well. You know, you can go for a guy like Guyton, but for argument's sake, we're going to bring in Chop, and we're going to make that defense even back to the Legion of Boom. Okay, then we go to Jacksonville. Now, Jacksonville, there's two options here. What do you want to go with? Do you want to shore up that offensive line with J.C. Latham and give Trevor Lawrence the time to throw the ball? Or do we find a replacement in quotations for those of you listening on Spotify? Or do you want to go A.D. Mitchell? I like A.D. Mitchell. He's a big body wide receiver, smooth route runner. But I think that if you give Trevor Lawrence time to throw the ball, I think he can make plays for you. I think part of the reason why Trevor Lawrence wasn't having success was because that O-line was not pretty. Let's bulk up the O-line, bring in J.C. Latham, give Trevor Lawrence more time to throw the ball, maybe get a wide receiver in the second round, but I think we got to go O-line here. J.C. Latham to the Jacksonville. Then you have Cincinnati trading the 18 pick to the Chargers in order to go ahead and get Odunze. And now you have the Chargers sitting here. And what do they need? They need wide receivers. All you have is the lackluster Quentin Johnson, the just okay Joshua Palmer. Nothing in the run game, really. You got Gus Edwards. Doesn't seem really that exciting. Probably going to go ahead and draft Blake Corum in the third round to give yourself another piece at running back. But let's go ahead and grab A.D. Mitchell. I think this makes a lot of sense. Like I said, big body wide receiver, smooth route runner, good hands. Makes a lot of sense for the Chargers right here. You're going to need wide receiver help. And boom, in comes A.D. Mitchell, a guy who can put in work for you. And then we have the Rams. Got to bring in either a defensive line or offensive line. I have Tyler Guyton, a guy who can just plug and play anywhere on the O-line, give Matt Stafford some more time to throw the ball. He's got the weapons out there. So I'm going to go offensive lineman, Tyler Guyton. Then to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's a defensive team. They traded for a cornerback, but let's bring in Quinyon Mitchell, number one cornerback in the draft. Pittsburgh's all about defense. I would have taken Aiden Mitchell right here. You could also go Brian Thomas. And you know what? I'm going to switch it up. Right here on the show, I'm going to switch it up. I actually agree with that. Pittsburgh Steelers, Brian Thomas, link it up. Give Russell Wilson another weapon back. You did give up. I'm gonna blank on his name, ain't I? Wow. Bring him in. Why can't I say his name? That is bothering me. Whatever. Oh, Deontay Johnson. You trade away Deontay Johnson. Bring in Brian Thomas Jr. Let him come in. Give George Pickens a little help out there so he's not the lone wide receiver. I don't think that George Pickens will be good as a lone number one. If you bring in Brian Thomas Jr., I think this actually helps. Man, Got to be able to switch up your decisions on the fly, and that's what I did. I'm going to bring in Brian Thomas Jr., and I'm going to give Quinion Mitchell to Houston, so I'll get back to that. Miami, I said it once before, and I'm going to say it again. Xavier Worthy. Xavier Worthy. Xavier Worthy. I don't believe that Kansas City is going to stay at that 32 spot. A lot of people have Kansas City trading up, to get Xavier Worthy. And it makes sense. It's the piece that they need, and I think you need to snatch it up. It fits in with what you have. You'll be the fastest offense in the NFL. I love it. Xavier is a great route runner. He's fast. He's got good hands. Bring him on in. Trade Jalen Waddle to the New England Patriots or keep him. Whatever works for you. I would like for you to trade him to New England. But, maybe you will, maybe you won't. Xavier Worthy to Miami at this spot. I don't believe it's going to happen, but I believe it should happen. Then we got Philly grabbing Graham Barton, another offensive line that can play center. They lost the best center in the business, Jason Kelce. Let's bring in this guy, see if he could be a fair replacement or back up whoever you got until he's ready to go full on, or put him somewhere on the line wherever you need him, plug and play. I don't know, but I think this is a good spot for him. Graham Barton to Philly. Now you have Houston. Houston traded their 23 pick to Minnesota. I got Minnesota trading it to Arizona. And I said Houston, I meant Arizona. Arizona grabbing Quinion Mitchell to shore up that defense, give them the best cornerback in the draft, second best cornerback, or, it can go either way between him and Terrion Arnold. Whatever you believe, it is what it is. Quinion Mitchell to Arizona. Then we got Dallas, and this right here is the mind blower, the shot you didn't see coming. When I thought about this, it made me so happy. Now here's the thing. Let me kind of step back for a second. It made me happy because it's a cool idea. It didn't make me happy because this is what I want, but I think this is just a really good idea. Dallas Cowboys, they got Dak Prescott. Contract talks have come to an end. They are not going to extend Dak Prescott. They're going to let him play. He's going to bet on himself, and they're going to allow him to play out the 2024 season under the final year of his contract, and then let him test the free agency. I say scratch that idea. He's going to cost you so much money to play in 2024. Let's get it off the books. Dallas Cowboys, at the 24 pick, draft Michael Penix Jr. You got the offensive weapons, baby. You got the good O-line. That's what he needs. He needs weapons, and he needs an O-line. You got it in spades. You got to get a running back there, but I think that they can make that happen. There's plenty of guys, I don't want to say plenty, but there's guys out there that you can go and get, or that you can get in the draft like Jonathan Brooks. Trade Dak Prescott away and get Michael Penix. Where do you trade Dak Prescott? Who's going to trade for Dak Prescott? I'm going to tell you who's going to trade for Dak Prescott. The New England Patriots. The New England Patriots will send a fourth-round draft pick, take on all that salary cap. That is Dak Prescott, $50-something million cap hit. We'll take that cap hit. Give us Dak Prescott. We now have Marvin Harrison Jr. We got Demario Douglas. We're going to draft someone in the second round like Ladd McConkey or whoever is available. And now we have all the things we need to be successful. Dak Prescott will work for a year. We're not going to sign him to an extension either. We're going to take him for that 1 year. We're going to lose that fourth-round draft pick. He's going to get us to a playoff, and then that's it. That's all we need. We need you to get our players ready for that next phase. Who we're going to have in that next phase, I don't know. but I don't think it will be Dak Prescott. But Dak Prescott to the Patriots for a fourth-round pick, and the Dallas Cowboys drafted Michael Penix seems like just a move that no one would see coming, but would make all the sense in the world, and I love it. Can we please make this happen? Because we don't want to draft one of these top two quarterbacks. If we can't get Caleb, I'm kind of flopping on Drake May and Jaden Daniels. I've said that Jaden Daniels is the best quarterback this season, and I still kind of believe that. But I'm not as far off the Drake May train as I once was. I don't know if he's necessarily going to be a bust. I just don't think he's a year one quarterback. I think he needs development, or at least the best O-line you can offer him and weapons. So I'm flip-floppy. But Michael Penix to Dallas, Dak Prescott to New England for a fourth. Man, it's just beautiful. All right. Then let's move on to the 25th pick. Green Bay Packers take Byron Murphy. At the 26th pick, Tampa Bay, Johnny Nelson. 27, Arizona's going to go Jackson Powers Johnson. And then Buffalo. But this is a tough one right here with Buffalo, because I have them taking Nate Wiggins, the fastest cornerback in the draft this year. Not the most effective tackler, but he's a speed guy. And I think he's a very good corner. And I think he could play well in Buffalo. So you know what? I'm just going to stick with my gut. Nate Wiggins to Buffalo. They lost Tre'Davious White. So bring in Wiggins, and let's replace that missing piece. Detroit, I got him taking Mims. And I think I got Mims falling a little low here, but I think it's really what's going to happen, especially with all the pieces moving around. So I like Wiggins there, and I like Mims to Detroit. Baltimore, I'm having a hard time with Baltimore. If Miami does not draft Xavier Worthy, then I think what makes the most sense is send Xavier Worthy to Baltimore. Could Baltimore use a wide receiver? I think they could. Who would that wide receiver be? I'm not really sure. Not really confident about anybody after this point, because you have the Troy Franklins and you have the Ladd McConkleys. But I think we'll go defense and give them Kool-Aid McKinstry. I think that will make a lot of sense. They lost some pieces, so let's add Kool-Aid McKinstry right here. Possibly maybe even trading away that first pick to add more depth in the later rounds. I don't hate that move either. But San Fran, I have a feeling, I know they're saying that they're not going to, but I have a feeling that Brandon Ayuk might get traded. Last year of his contract, no extension made yet. Could you trade him? Man, and if you are going to trade him, please let the Patriots get the first opportunity to make that trade, because I think that would be so awesome. So awesome. So, I like San Fran trading that pick. I really do. But who would they trade it to? Not really sure. I don't really care. But I have it, San Fran taking Troy Franklin with the possibility of trading Brandon Ayuk away for what could be a first or a second round pick. And then finally, Kansas City, needing more wide receiver help, will take Ladd McConkey. And there you have it. First round of the draft, bold moves throughout the beginning, middle, and not so much at the end. And I actually did have the Cincinnati trade. I can't believe I forgot this. Cincinnati getting that number 9 pick would also trade T. Higgins, the 18, and a second rounder. That's actually what I had to get Adunze at 9. So, all right, what else do we have? The New York Jets, right? You got Aaron Rodgers, right? And then you got Zach Wilson and Tyrod Taylor. Now, if Aaron Rodgers is healthy, and at least 80, 90%, probably 80, that's pretty good. I think he could support a roster as long as the offensive line is good. I think he could support it. But I'm sure Zach Wilson somehow, some way is going to get traded away before the season ends. I personally think that Zach Wilson should ask to be released and then go play for the XFL. The UFL. I think he would be amazing there. But that's probably not what's going to happen. So I think he'll get traded. Where he'll get traded, it doesn't matter. He needs to be traded, though. I'd probably send him to somewhere like Chicago where, he can make plays with his feet. He got the big arm. If Caleb Williams goes down, he has so many weapons that it would be really hard for him to fail. Maybe that works out. I don't know. But I think that the Jets should try to make a play for Trey Lance. If not the Jets, I think a team like Miami or the Patriots, those are teams that I think really could make a play for Trey Lance and see how it works out. Even Chicago. Trey Lance is also someone who is comped similarly to how Caleb Williams was comped. So if Chicago made a play for Trey Lance, maybe a 4th or a 5th round pick, and Caleb Williams got hurt, I think Trey Lance could come in and play quite similar to how Caleb Williams plays. Not a bad idea. I'm going to the Jets. Think I'm going to change it to Chicago. I also have Ryan Tannehill as a backup. Also, I think a good landing spot is Chicago. Or, I don't know, Buffalo makes sense. Not a lot of places where Ryan Tannehill can go that make a ton of sense. So if they don't go after Chicago doesn't go after Trey Lance, I think Ryan Tannehill makes the most sense. He's a guy who's competent and come in and not mess it up too much with all those weapons surrounding him in a run game. I think Ryan Tannehill makes a lot of sense to Chicago. You have Michael Gallup sitting out there, and Carolina needs weapons. I think Michael Gallup is a good wide receiver, especially a number 3 guy. You got your 1 with Deontay Johnson. You got your 2 in Adam Thielen. Bring in Michael Gallup as the 3rd, and I feel like that would really help that wide receiver room. Tyler Boyd, I also think he could go to Carolina, not both Michael Gallup and Tyler Boyd, one or the other, or Arizona. You didn't get the wide receivers you want, and Tyler Boyd doesn't fill that void, but he could come in and he could make work as a number 3 wide receiver. Also, in some newer news, we got Deontay Johnson has signed with the Cleveland Browns, adding running back depth there. I kind of like that move. It's pretty cool. And who was it that just signed an extension? Oh, Ladarius Sneed signs a $77 million deal with the Texans. Who did he get traded to? Man. Oh, no. To the Tennessee Titans. So, Ladarius Sneed gets traded to the Tennessee Titans. Tennessee Titans sign him to an extension, 4 years, $77 million, $20 million sign-in bonus, $55 million guaranteed. So basically, his whole contract is guaranteed. $20 million is a sign-in bonus, $55, leaving $2 million for to get paid. It's what, $500,000 a year for the next 4 years? It's craziness, crazy talk. But whatever, it is what it is. And Ladarius Sneed is something they absolutely need without question. Without question. I also think that they should make a play for Tre'Davious White or Xavier Howard, maybe, or Stephon Gilmore, one of these 3 cornerbacks, because, man, that defense was terrible. And one of these 3 vets could come in and make a difference. Then you have a lot of things changing in the NFL. The NFL has eliminated the hip drop tackle. If you do a hip drop tackle, there will be a penalty. I believe it's a personal foul, 15 yards, and a first down. So no more hip drop tackle, and defensive players are not happy. There are other players. Tom Brady said that they're more physical in the game of basketball now than in football. I tend to agree. The game of football has been getting more and more flag footballish than hardcore football, but I also understand that, a hip drop tackle is a big cause of injuries because of the way you're brought down. And it's a very dangerous tackle. And I kind of do agree that it should be taken out of the game. But I also understand that it is part of the game. It's a way to tackle somebody, and now a lot of tackles won't get made because of the fact that someone can't do a hip drop tackle. So what do you do here? You're giving up more plays to the offense in order to further cripple the defense. Although what I am hearing is now roughing the passer penalties will be able to be challenged and reviewed, and they could be overturned. So that's one of those things where defensive linemen were almost hurting themselves trying to avoid getting those penalties called against them, and now they'll be able to review these calls and overturn roughing the passer calls. Moving on, the kickoff rule has officially changed, and this is one of the changes I'm 100% here for. They're kind of taking a play from the XFL. The kicking team, they'll line up, all but the kicker will line up on the receiving team's 40. The receiving team, all but the receivers, will line up on the 35. The kicker on the kicking 35-yard line or 30-yard line. Let me look. Nope, 35-yard line. 2 receivers set back. Nobody can move until the ball either hits the ground or the receiver catches it. And then, so that also eliminates, this is the one part I don't like. It eliminates surprise onside kicks. You're no longer going to be able to trick a team into thinking you're going for an onside kick, because if you're going for an onside kick, you have to call for an onside kick, and that would bring the line back to the kicking team's 35 rather than the receiving team's 35 and 40. So if you're going for an onside kick, the team will know you're going for an onside kick. So that's kind of lame, because it's cool when you get the opportunity for a surprise onside kick you didn't see coming. So that part of it kind of takes away from the game, but you'll have more opportunities for kick returns, less opportunities for serious injuries, less opportunities for illegal block in the back. You'll have a bigger emphasis on kick returners in the draft, and a bigger emphasis on speedy linebackers, because the dynamic of the kickoff will change. It will change special teams pretty astronomically. There's going to be more emphasis on special teams coaching, because you're going to need high-level coaching at special teams now for offense and for defense. It's going to change completely the way special teams trains for kickoffs. And I think it's going to be really exciting. We're going to find out this year because it takes place this year, and I can't wait to see how it plays out. As for fantasy, I think this should change the dynamic for fantasy. I think if you're playing fantasy, it's about time that you change the rule and start giving more points or different points for returns. Maybe 1 point for every 25 yards, 4 points for a touchdown. You return it for a touchdown, it's 8 points. I like it a lot. So going forward, I think special teams is going to be a bigger and more exciting part of the NFL. All touchbacks will go to the 30-yard line rather than the 25-yard line. And then finally, the trade deadline for the NFL, which was previously Week 8, will be the Tuesday post-Week 9, giving an additional week for NFL teams to make possible trades. And this I also like. You don't really want to limit how much time you have so much. Most leagues, NFL and NBA, go to about 58 to 78% of the regular season gone before they stop trades. So this will, and NFL was about at 48%. So this is going to bring us over that 50% mark, which is exciting for the prospect of trades. Then we have the Hall of Fame game going down August 1st. And this year, the Hall of Fame game will be the Houston Texans versus the Chicago Bears. And I love this game. Now, I know it's more of a preseason game, but what I'm really hoping is Caleb Williams is a rookie quarterback, and generally rookie quarterbacks play in preseason games. So I'm hoping we're going to get to see the best prospect coming out of the draft versus the best prospect from last year's draft. Not the best prospect coming out, but the best prospect from. And this will be a battle of the QBs. It will make for an awesome game, or at least for an awesome first half. You got to assume they're going to put the starters in the first half. And so that makes me excited for this game. It should be extremely fun. I wouldn't miss out on it. So we'll see how it plays out. Hall of Fame game, August 1st, Houston versus Chicago. Now, UFL is making its start this weekend. Every week, I'm telling you, it's a couple weeks away, it's 2 weeks away, it's 3 weeks away, whatever. Now, this weekend, we have the beginning of the XFL, and it is starting Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Birmingham Stallions versus the Arlington Renegades. You have the XFL versus the UFL in the first game of the season, and I'm excited. As much as I think it's going to be, mediocre football or at least a level below, I'm still excited to get to watch some football. It's probably a little bit above college and just below NFL, but it's football, baby, and that's what we're here for. We're here for the rock'em sock'em football, and hopefully we'll get some good games this season. I have officially started a UFL fantasy league. There are 2 websites. There is no app. If you're looking and you're wondering, there is no app. There is only 2 websites, and I'm going to tell you right now, I can't remember what they're called. One is like alt something. The other one begins with a U, but it's not the United Football League. So there is a website for it. If you Google UFL fantasy football, you will find something that will tell you what 2 websites those are. The format for this fantasy football is dog poop. They only have when it comes to making waiver wire pickups, you only have the option for there to be a waiver wire time period, and you have to use Fab Bucks to pick up players. We did a draft, and for some reason we did an auto draft, and it did not give us kickers or defenses. Now, we went hardcore, and we did a 6-team league where there's only 8 teams in the entire league, so it's going to be pretty tough. My format was 1 quarterback, 1 running back, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, a flex, a kicker, and a defense. That's going to be tough in itself. Quarterbacks, luckily every team is definitely stacked with 3 quarterbacks, so, it's just, it's rough. I think I gave us like 5 bench slots. So it's going to be a rough season. We're going to see how it plays out. But any way I could play fantasy football, I'm here for it. Like I said, it's kind of whack because you have to play on a website. You don't have an app. It's not very highly functional. It's very rudimentary. But once again, it's fantasy football, so I'm here for it. Then on Saturday as well at 4 o'clock, we have the St. Louis Battlehawks versus the Michigan Panthers. Michigan Panthers, I got your defense. You better be good. Or at least I think I got the defense. I have to wait to see if the waiver claim went through. I don't think it goes through till today, so I didn't check it. Then on Sunday at 12 p.m., we have the DC Defenders going to San Antonio to face the Brahmas. And that is a weird name. I looked up Brahmas, and it's like a gigantic chicken. Chicken. Why you would name your team after a giant chicken? I don't know. It's weird, but they're the chickens. See how that sounds weird? You're the chickens. But we'll see how that game plays out. Sunday, 3 p.m., we have the Memphis Showboats. What another dumb name. Memphis Showboats? Like, what are you doing? Can we get some real team names up in here? Going up against the Houston Roughnecks, and that's the start of the season, man. It's going to be exciting stuff. I'm here for it, and I mean, wow. All right, so we have some players out there that are still available on free agency that have not found a home, and where are they going to go? What's the best landing spot for these guys? You got Stephon Gilmore riding out there, and I kind of feel like Stephon Gilmore could come on home, back to New England, where we knew how to utilize him, and not like he wasn't utilized poorly in his other ventures. And yes, he has fallen off a step, but I think Stephon Gilmore still has something to give. But if it's not New England, I think Tennessee could really utilize the talent there. Then we have Xavier Howard, one of the best to ever do it at cornerback. And if Stephon Gilmore doesn't re-sign with the Cowboys, it does make a lot of sense that Xavier Howard to the Cowboys would work out. Xavier Howard, though, also said he would like to go back to Houston, his hometown. And I don't hate that. I think they could really use the help. So Xavier Howard to Houston makes a lot of sense. Tre'Davious White, he visited with Miami. I think he visited with Baltimore. Has not signed a contract. But Xavier Howard, you left Miami. Bring in Tre'Davious White, and I think that would really help balance out that defense. Jadeveon Clowney has not found a home as well. Carolina, they gave up Brian Burns. Why don't you give Jadeveon Clowney another opportunity? Or could Jadeveon Clowney go back to Houston, his original home where he was drafted, and finish his career where it all started? Not a bad idea. Nice young team. Bring in this veteran who he's not gonna be an every play guy. He's gonna be a plug-in guy, to come in on those big moments to make a play, and I think that would be a great way to utilize him. He's not going to cost a lot of bucks. Bring him in, see how it goes. Then you have Josh Reynolds. I think a really good landing spot for Josh Reynolds would be the Las Vegas Raiders. Like I said, you got Devontae Adams and Jacoby Myers. If you bring in Josh Reynolds, that veteran slot receiver, I think that could really help out the team, and I think he could make some plays there. I don't know how that will go, but I think if you bring in Josh Reynolds, and I think he can make some plays for you, it's definitely a good landing spot. J.K. Dobbins. Now, I say J.K. Dobbins like it means anything. I don't think any team should sign J.K. Dobbins. I think J.K. Dobbins should say, you know what? My legs are telling me I'm not meant for football. And so maybe it's time for me to call it quits. But if not, I think there's only two spots that make even a lick of sense. And that's Dallas. They have the O-line. Right now they only got Dowell as their starting running back. I can't imagine they're going to go into the season with just what is his first name? Whatever, Dowdle. Maybe they could bring in J.K. Dobbins and see if he can do anything, but you got to bring him in for the shortest money possible, because chances are he ain't going to make it past week 1, because when has he ever? So that's, whatever. Also, the Chargers, they want to be a run-heavy game. Why don't you just bring in a bunch of guys and just rotate these dudes? You already got Gus Edwards from Baltimore. Go ahead and bring in J.K. Dobbins as well. Go draft your boy Blake Corum I think you got Joshua Kelly. No, maybe you don't have Joshua Kelly, but you got Isaiah Spiller, and just rotate these guys in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. Make them last as long as possible. Try to keep them healthy as long as possible. And if one of them gets hot, then maybe you ride that hand until they go down, whatever the case may be. But J.K. Dobbins, to me, is a lost cause, and I don't think he makes sense on any team at all. So you have Ezekiel Elliott out here. A lot of people are saying he's going to go home, back to Dallas, and that does make sense. He knows the offense, and I think he's still got gas in the tank. I think he showed some flashes of that When he was on New England, he peeled off a 70-yard run that got called back, so no one talks about it. But I think he's still a viable running back, and I think it could make sense for him to go back to Dallas. Personally, I'd like to see him come back to New England because I liked him backing up Ramondre Stevenson, but I also think it makes sense for him to go to the Chargers. I think he could go to a team like the Chargers under Jim Harbaugh and be that every down back. Give him an opportunity to find himself again. Will that happen? I don't know. Then you have Odell Beckham Jr. Where can Odell Beckham Jr. go? What makes the most sense? Miami put out an offer for him. I don't know if I like that. But what I do kind of like is, once again, the Chargers. The Chargers don't have any weapons. I think if you brought in Odell Beckham, that would work. Would Odell Beckham go there? I don't think he would, just because of the simple fact that I don't think that they're like, he wants to go somewhere where he can get that ring before he finally calls it a wrap. Could he go to Kansas City? Maybe. I don't hate him going to Detroit. I think that's a nice little soft landing spot for him. Buffalo makes a lot of sense. You know, they might have to draft a rookie, but bring in Odell Beckham. I think that's a nice little move. Him lined up with Stephon Diggs has a lot of promise. Outside of that, I can't really see anywhere he could go. I mean, San Fran don't need him. Baltimore, he could return. Miami doesn't make so much sense. How are you going to support all these wide receivers? I don't know. It's a tough call. Maybe even Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh be a nice landing spot. They have an opportunity, to make a nice little playoff run. So Odell Beckham to the Steelers, probably, Buffalo, one of those two slots I think makes the most sense. And I think that's all I got for you today. I hope this was a show that you guys enjoyed. I really enjoyed writing this up. I was thinking about it all weekend long, and I got really excited for it, so I hope it was something you enjoyed. And until next week, I'll see you. Have a good night.